Hey, what's up, everybody out there? I'm your gracious co-host, Jay Stokes. My other co-host, Jay Random, is not here this week because he is enjoying his anniversary with his lovely wife. I wish I could definitely have the life that Jay Random has, but for now, I'm just living it up being a bachelor. Maybe eventually. But anyway, welcome to AVIOT. AVIOT stands for Atypical Voices in Our Time, and this is the official podcast of Chemistry Productions. For those of you who don't know, Chemistry Productions is a company that focuses on enhancing media literacy, most specifically in teenagers and young adults. So that's Chemistry Productions, and that is AVIOT, the podcast that you're listening to. The title of this episode today is called Resubmit. The premise of this show today is to resubmit our intangible application into the world of podcasts. We had several glitches last week. Last week was actually our first ever podcast for AVIOT, and Jay Random and I were a little bit all over the place, but that's to be expected of a first podcast. We had some glitches, we made some errors, but hey, it is what it is. So, let's see. What are some things that we'd like to fix? Well, first off, last week we said that we would elaborate on Stokes, which is one of Chemistry Productions' subsidiaries or smaller companies. Stokes is the book publishing subsidiary of Chemistry Productions, and we didn't elaborate on it even though we said we would. So all you really need to know about Stokes is it is a book publishing subsidiary, and it's published 2 books already, and more books are on the way in the distant future. Another glitch that we had last week was when actually I said that Chemistry Productions produces media content in order to not be hypocritical. That was the wrong word. What I actually meant to say was we produce content in order to have a more credible voice, especially since media analysis and critique is our thing. So basically how each show runs is that Jay Random and I, we start by introducing ourselves, going through what we have done in the day or maybe throughout the week. And then after that, we go into talking about news that's out there. And after that, we go into promoting more chemistry stuff. So in terms of the news, the reason why we're called AVIOT, Atypical Voices, is because we give a little bit of a different take on things in news media. We don't say the same things that you would hear in a normal podcast or maybe normal news media in general. The whole point of this podcast in general is to make sure that we promote chemistry and to put it out there more often. Both Jay Random and I have jobs outside of this, and we are trying to make chemistry our official job. So that's going to happen with time. But without further ado, I think it's time that we get into the news. So let me switch up the beat right quick. And there we go. So actually, I would like to take this time to thank Mr. Scotty Beats, who is producing these beats in the background. So the first story that I wanted to get into, let me turn this down a little bit. The first piece of news that I wanted to get into is The Dark Knight. So for those of you who don't know, The Dark Knight is a movie that came out about 10 years ago. And yesterday marked the 10th anniversary of that movie. The Dark Knight was a movie about Batman and the Joker. The Joker is one of Batman's most popular villains in DC Comics. If you're a comic book head like me, then you're following along just fine. But if you're not a comic book head, just bear with me and maybe just do some research on it later on. So pretty much this 10th anniversary was marked by a article. And in this article that I read, they were talking about how the Joker pretty much trolls Batman and other people throughout the whole entire film. For those of you who don't know, trolling is just the art of just causing mayhem just to do it. So the Joker throughout the movie, he just kills people, he destroys things, and he has no real motive behind it. He's just doing it just to do it, and he wants to get under Batman's skin. Batman is a pretty noble, moral character who's really trying to help people out, and he never can understand what the Joker is trying to get at, what his aim is. And pretty much the Joker is representative of trolls today. So trolls, internet trolls, you see the people on the internet that cause a lot of ruckus and mayhem, and all they want to do is just say something that's anti whatever you're saying. So you might have a positive post talking about body positivity, for example, and then you'll have someone on there that says, you're just fat. They're being a troll. They're just trying to stir up ruckus. They're trying to be an a-hole. Sorry for my language, but they're just trying to get under your skin. And so it's funny that the Joker kind of represented trolls of today. I thought that was a very interesting story. So speaking of trolls, there was a recent story that came out from Facebook that concerned its founder and CEO, Mark Zuckerberg, in which he was defending Holocaust deniers. So there are individuals that are on Facebook that are denying that the Holocaust actually existed. And obviously, you should know that the Holocaust was a situation in which many Jews or people of Jewish faith were persecuted back in the mid 1900s, early to mid 1900s, and it was a terrible time period. A lot of people of Jewish descent died. A lot of other people died too, like there were African people that died as well. And there are individuals that deny that ever happened, and they're saying that on Facebook. So Mark Zuckerberg actually said that people have the right to say these things. They have the right to freedom of speech. But what I want to ask is, when does freedom of speech go a little bit too far? A lot of people were harmed with this whole Holocaust incident, this whole time period where the Holocaust was occurring. And there comes a time where, yes, you can have your freedom of speech. We're all granted the First Amendment right. We're all granted our First Amendment rights in the United States, but there's a thin line between freedom of speech and hate speech. And me personally, I think this is sort of crossing that line. To say that this event did not happen at all, that is a huge, huge situation, and it's very harmful, very hurtful for people who have families that went through that and had family, and there are still some Holocaust survivors, I believe. So it's documented throughout history that people were killed during this time period. A lot of Jewish people were persecuted against. A lot of people of different backgrounds were harmed. So speaking of freedom of speech, that leads into this next person, Mr. Papa John's or John Shatner, who founded Papa John's, which is the pizza company, as you all might know. It's the pizza corporation that delivers a lot of pizzas. I remember last week, Jay Random and I, we were talking about it, and Jay Random was saying that pizza doesn't even taste that good to begin with. But me personally, I've always liked Papa John's pizzas. I always liked there's a specific garlic sauce that they have, and I thought that was pretty good, but that's neither here nor there. Anyway, so Papa John's, he said the N-word during, I guess, a conference call, and that's what kind of made news and headways, and a lot of people were already feeling some type of way about Papa John's because he was vocally against the NFL protests in which black NFL players were protesting and kneeling during the national anthem in order to protest police brutality. And so people had it with him on that. So with that being said, Papa John's now is at the center of another controversy in which there was sexism going on in his, in his chain of stores or within his corporation. In this article, this article that I'm reading now by Forbes, or that I read earlier by Forbes, it was talking about how women, female employees were mocked and asked if they were menstruating, and male executives were referring to gangbangs around women and asking if they wanted to jump on the train. And people are just like, wow, all this dirty laundry is coming out about Papa John's Pizza and that corporation. And it is crazy. First, it starts with the racism and the ignorance, and now we're going into sexism. So I wouldn't be surprised if this food chain, this pizza chain ends up just crashing and burning. It's really unfortunate, but hey, the chickens come home to roost eventually. If you do something in the dark, it's going to come into the light. So that's that. Speaking of sexism, I recently came across a story that involved the Me Too movement. So the Me Too movement is obviously a movement that was meant to bring justice for women who are being harassed, who are being mistreated by largely men in the workplace, in the world in general. And what we must always remember is that Me Too was actually started by a black woman named Tarana Burke. And for some of you might be saying, why do we need to even bring that up? Why does it care? Who cares who started the Me Too movement as long as it's going on and women are getting justice and men are being brought to justice for doing these horrible things to women? It shouldn't matter who started it. But I say this. In a lot of cases, when we have movements like this, a lot of black women are pushed to the back. Ms. Burke started the movement in order to help women of color, specifically black women and Hispanic women, I believe, or girls, black girls and Hispanic girls, cope with and deal with the men in their lives that were molesting them, that were harming them, and that were making them feel uncomfortable. What happened was the actress Alyssa Milano, she took this and she put it into the Hollywood sphere. And as a result of that, Me Too turned into a hashtag that was used by a lot of women in Hollywood, and it turned into this big celebrity fest. So that's cool that women are being finally given the right to, that women are finally standing up to their perpetrators and finally being able to get justice for things that have been done wrong against them. However, some people believe that this Me Too movement has turned into a witch hunt, and I'll get back into that in a minute. So the story that I read recently had to do with Henry Cavill. Henry Cavill actually plays Superman in the new Superman movies, Man of Steel and Justice League, and he actually was saying that he feels kind of nervous about flirting with women or asking them out because he doesn't want to be accused of rape. Let me see if I can get the actual quote that he said. He said that, man, I'm trying to look up this and I'm trying to talk at the same time, but yeah, that's pretty much what he said. I'm not going to waste your time on here, but yeah, that's pretty much what he said. He said that he feels that he wants to flirt with women, wants to approach them, but here's the quote, found it. He said, Henry Cavill said, and I quote, "It's very difficult to do that, to approach women, if there are certain rules in place, because it's like, well, I don't want to go up and talk to her because I'm going to be called a rapist or something," he said. So as soon as I heard this, I was like, whoa. That is the wrong thing to say, Henry Cavill. You do not say something like that you're afraid of approaching a woman because you don't want to be called a rapist. And obviously, there was a lot of backlash that he received from that comment. And rightfully so, because you don't want to be taking things overboard. But what I think he actually meant to say was that he feels weird about approaching women nowadays or trying to flirt with a woman nowadays because I think it's safe to say that in some cases, some people, men and women, don't know how to tell the difference between flirting and creepy behavior. And in defense of women, there are a lot of men out there who are creeps, and they have been stalking women. They have been saying very inappropriate comments. But then there are a subset of men out there who actually have nice intentions, and they are flirting because they want to take you out and want to get to know you and eventually maybe sleep with you or eventually have you as their partner. So I think that's what he meant. And so back to this witch hunt comment, the Me Too movement, though it started off very nice, it can be argued that it's taken a weird turn, and it's divided women, it's divided men and women. The situation that comes to mind regarding this is the Aziz Ansari issue. And for those of you who don't know, Aziz Ansari is a comedian, very famous comedian, and this woman wrote a story about him, and she decided to keep her identity anonymous, talking about how he treated her wrong on a date and how she felt uncomfortable, and she gave him nonverbal cues that she was uncomfortable and that he didn't take the nonverbal cues, and the date was horrible. Here's the thing, though. He texted her the next day talking about the date because he thought it went well. She told him that it didn't go well, and then he apologized for it, but still she writes this article blasting him. And Aziz Ansari, his career is, I hate to say over, but have you seen him lately? For those of you who follow the guy, it's hard to even see him anymore, and he's taken a big hit to his career. So that's what I mean by the witch hunt comment, that you have a guy who thought he was doing the right thing, and he wasn't in the eyes of this woman, and now his career took a hit just because she screamed that he treated her unfairly. Even though if you read the story, I think it was on like babe.net or something, that's probably not it. Just look up Aziz Ansari controversy and you'll find it. I'm doing a bad job of giving you the information on that one, but it is what it is. Also, I wanted to touch on this whole nonverbal cues thing. Okay, so obviously, if you're a guy and you're with a woman, we're talking about heterosexual relationships here for everybody out there. If you're a guy and you're with a woman and you visibly see that she's uncomfortable, just stop what you're doing. But then at the same time, if you're a woman, we have to empower women in order to have the voice to say no. And I feel that women who feel like they can't say no to certain scenarios or situations, they're giving that power to the man by being like, oh, I couldn't say no. You're giving that power to the person who is pursuing you or the person who you're involved with. And women, you have a lot of power. You have more power than you think. So that's my thoughts on that. So, just on a happier note, let's get away from all this sadness, all of this despair. Let's get into celebrities. That's what we'll do. We'll get into some celebrity news. Well, not too much celebrity news because I try not to focus on celebrities too much. I just critique them. Chemistry Productions just critiques them, just looks at their lives, but we try not to focus on them all the way. Anyway, so in case you lived under a rock, Drake, the hip-hop artist Drake, released an album called Scorpion, and this was a double album that was about 25 tracks, and it's been breaking a whole bunch of records on Billboard Top 100 charts. It's been breaking records in terms of streaming, and an article came out that was talking about this album and Kanye West's album, the rapper Kanye West, saying that both of them released these albums and they had mixed reviews, yet they did very well in terms of streaming, in terms of sales. And this got me to thinking, how do we rate music today? How do we view music today? Do we look at things like albums like these as classics because they performed pretty well in terms of streaming sales? Or do we just say, it is what it is? Because when you have mixed reviews versus streaming sales, that gives a very interesting, that provides a very interesting scenario, because now you have the critics who are, we would like to say, skilled at their jobs versus the audience, and the audience is streaming these things. We can't look at the general public and say what they like is necessarily good, because the general public can love something that's terrible and they accept that and they support that. So how are we going to judge albums in terms of how good they are or if they're classics or not in the future and today? Are we going to do it by streaming sales? Are we going to do it by how much they sold? Are we going to do it by a combination of what the critics say and what the streams say? I just thought that was a pretty interesting story right there. So let's see. One more story before I get into some chemistry stuff. Oh, here it is. Yes, this is a story that I wanted to get into. So it's still a little bit of celebrity, but it's not all that much. So on the show America Got Talent, there was a husband and wife duo that did, I think, trapeze. They're a trapeze team, Mary and Tice. And what happened was Mary actually fell during their performance and could have killed herself. She fell hard on the mat, and the judges told them to just stop their performance right there. But this husband and wife duo, they still wanted to continue going. And that's the thing. Obviously, you want to win competitions, but is it worth your health? Is it worth your well-being? Yeah, you got to strive for greatness and strive for success, but at the same time, you still have to worry about getting up the next day. You can give it your all, but don't kill yourself over these things. And that was just my little message towards that. So that wraps it up for the news segment. Like I said at the beginning of the show, after we talk about the news, then we go into a little bit of discussion about what chemistry has going on. And chemistry has a lot going on. So if you follow Chemistry Productions, I didn't even spell the name. Chemistry Productions is spelled K3MISTRY Productions. Okay? It's not chemistry like the lab set. It's K3MISTRY Productions. So Chemistry Productions has a lot going on. Like I said, this podcast, AVIOT, is the official podcast of Chemistry Productions, and we're using this as a way to better communicate to an audience and also to promote what we have going on. So Chemistry has many outlets. We have a Tumblr page that is usually updated. We try to update that daily, but I tell you, it's hard to analyze media content out there when you have a small team, and we have a very small team at the moment. So we have a Tumblr blog. You can find the Tumblr blog. Just type in Chemistry Productions on Tumblr or chemistryproductions.tumblr.com. That's K3MISTRY Productions.tumblr.com. We have a actual blog page where we do, whoa, that got very loud. I don't know why that music got very loud like that. Anyway, so we have an actual blog page that we post content, trying to give a more in-depth analysis of media content out there. And this week on Tuesday, we released 2 articles. We're trying to make it a weekly thing where we post articles every Tuesday giving in-depth analysis on certain media-related topics, such as like sports, music, movies, television. So the pieces that we released this week, one was on the Declaration of Independence and how Facebook flagged part of the Declaration of Independence for being racist, and you should check that out. It's pretty good, and if you do, definitely leave some comments. So our web blog is actually called Tit for Tat, and you can find it at chemblog.wordpress.com. That's K3M blog, blog.wordpress.com, and you can read that. Our other article that we posted was speaking on Miss America, the Miss America pageant, or competition they want to call it now, and how they've done away with the swimsuit part of that. So definitely check that out. Also, we have a YouTube channel. Definitely. I know I'm saying that word a lot, but you have to check out the Chemistry Productions YouTube channel, okay? Check out that channel. We have a great show called Ruining Your Faves, which we actually talk about some interesting topics in popular media. So definitely check that out. And I'll just leave it at that. So like I said before, we have a book publishing subsidiary called Dokta. We also have a music subsidiary called Conscious Records, and we make music, and that has music that you should listen to, original music. We're actually trying to bring Scotty Beats into the fold because he's a great beat maker himself. But anyways, Conscious Records released a track not too long ago called Display by Brandon Tyler. You should definitely check that out on Spotify, on YouTube, but just type in Display by Brandon Tyler. I'm going to play the song for you right now, and then we're going to close the show out. All right? So enjoy.
After a while, I had believed that you would be the one, but you ain't give me the time of day. Whenever I hollered, you wouldn't bother to answer my plea. I wanna make you mine. Why is love so binding? I can be your fantasy if you let me.
Girl, you and me on retreat. What you
How come you won't try and see what it could be?
Good sheets laying back, can you picture that?
You've been running through my mind, girl. I know your feet must be tired. What are you to say when my heart is on display? Child would be the baddest teeny bopper. It ain't proper when we collide. You and I can make a dream deferred just to list the I can words. Make you laugh and smile. Now tell me why you don't want this guy. Your touch I can't break free. I think I'm in L-O-V-E. Damn, I can be your fantasy if you let me.
Girl, you and me on retreat. What you
How come you won't try and see what it could be?
Silk sheets laying back, can you picture that?
You've been running through my mind, girl. I know your feet must be tired. What are you to say? My heart is on display. If you let me, how come you won't try and see what it could be? You've been running through my mind. You must be tired. What are you to say? When my heart is on display. Heaven only knows my history with ladies from the past. It was possibly my motive to have a vixen. Now I'm searching for some class. Then you came along and swept me off my feet. I can't let you get away. If you opened up your heart, I'm sure I would love you the right way. I can be your fantasy if you let me.
Girl, you and me on retreat. What you
How come you won't try and see what it could be?
Silk sheets laying back, can you picture that?
You've been running through my mind, girl. I know your feet must be tired. What are you to say? When my heart is on display. I can be your fantasy if you let me.
Girl, you and me on retreat. What you
How come you won't try and see what it could be?
Silk sheets laying back, can you picture that?
You've been running through my mind, girl. I know your feet must be tired. What are you to say when my heart is on display? Heart is on display.
All right. So, I didn't mean to turn down the volume that much. All right, still got it going on in the background. Anyway, so I am your gracious host, Jay Stokes. Next week, Jay Random will be here with us. And in the future, we're going to do the shows on Wednesdays, every Wednesday night at 11 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's when we're going to do the show AVIOT, Atypical Voices in Our Time, the official podcast of Chemistry Productions. That's K3MISTRY. Make sure to check us out on YouTube. Make sure to tune into this station every Wednesday at 11 o'clock p.m. Jay Random will be here next time, and we're definitely going to have a blast. Thank you for tuning in tonight, and definitely also support this song, Display, by Brandon Tyler. All streams of income from our subsidiaries help out Chemistry Productions as a whole. We're definitely trying to grow this company and help people out there become more media literate, especially our youth, because it is necessary. So with that being said, everybody have a great night. Our shows run 30 minutes, so I had to kind of rush this one. But we're about to end this episode, and I will talk to you later. Peace.